Good morning, community, and welcome to another Keeping It Real with DrAnita podcast. I am your host, DrAnita Polite Wilson, C-Suite Trusted Advisor, Board Director, and Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging Strategy Consultant, helping members of the C-Suite and their teams reframe diversity conversations from difficult to different. Community, I am so excited that on this special series of real conversations from the C-Suite, in celebration of Juneteenth this month, I have with me the one and only Ms. Tish Norman. Tish, welcome to the program.
DrAnita, I'm pleased and privileged and blessed to be here with you. Thank you so much.
You know what? It's been a long time coming. It's been too far. Community, Dr. Tish is oh wow, look at that. I think I just spoke something into existence.
Look, give me 48 months. Give me 48 months. I'm on your tails.
I know you are. And I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to come on and join the community.
It's just confirmation. I have 2 applications right now on the books. I'll leave the schools' names anonymous, but I have 2 applications right now that I'm working on. Let's just say one school is in North Carolina, the other one is in Kansas. All right. So we'll see which one of those works out. And then you're going to be calling me a different name in about 48 months.
And you know what? The community is waiting for you. Whatever I can do to help you on that journey, you let me know.
Thank you.
But community, to give a proper introduction to Tish, she is an adjunct professor of African American Studies at Kentucky State University, one of her alma maters. She's a corporate trainer, a speaker, and the co-author of 7 leadership books. I got that right?
Can I just push all those together and put out one book?
You know what? And you will. When you get done, your one book, your dissertation will be about this thick.
That'll be the book.
That'll be the book. That'll be the book. Yes. So look, I want to tell the community about you. And you and I met at the Circle of Change with Dr. Josh Friedenberg. He's amazing. And the first time I saw you, I just kind of was observing you in the room. And I said, I think that's somebody I need to get to know. How long ago has that been right now? Has it been 3-4 years? I know the first time we met, it was before the pandemic. So it's been at least 4 years.
Yeah, I'm going to say 18.
I think you're right. So 6 years.
Yeah.
And we have followed each other. We have supported each other. We have kept in touch with each other.
Yeah.
The last time I saw you, last year's Circle of Change, you just looked amazing. Tell me what's going on with you. What are your projects? What are you working on? And most importantly, let's focus on your work in higher education. So I'm just going to be quiet and let you do what you do.
It is an amazing time right now because I think that life brings opportunities for us to hit the reset button, turn a page, relaunch, rebrand, redefine ourselves. And I am in that space right now. I am tickled pink because there are some rollouts that are coming from the brand that is Tish Norman that this world just better get ready for, because there is no way that I am slowing down. In fact, it's just the opposite. And I'm just getting started. So I have been very blessed and very privileged to have worked in the space of higher ed for almost 20 years as an off-campus, what I call an off-campus based professional. Though I'm holding a position now affiliated with the university, I'm still considered an off-campus based professional, at least in my speaking and consulting space that I've had for, like I said, almost the past 20 years. And so while that community has served me tremendously and still does, because the person that you just mentioned, our mutual connection, Josh, he and I have curated a program that does involve belonging, inclusiveness, leadership. And we have 2 engagements coming up in August. So the higher ed community still serves me and him wonderfully, or should I say he and I, but it's time to turn the page. And I'm so excited about it. I already have made the slow transition, DrAnita, the slow transition out of higher ed in terms of it being a full-time career. Okay.
Well, Before you tell us about the transition, I'm curious, what attracted you to higher ed? Because you have a presence and a knowledge base and a way of delivering that gets the attention of young people. And now I'm thinking about myself when I was in college and who were the people that I followed. So what attracted you to higher ed, and what's the benefit that you get out of it?
Oh, well, it's what I know. I graduated from college with an elementary education degree. So I come from a family of teachers. So education was literally the dominant career choice for many of not just the women, but even some men in our family. So my aunt, my grandma, my aunts, plural, my mother, my grandmother, sister, cousins, grand aunts, or some people say great aunts. All of these people were affiliated and involved in education.
The fact that education was foundational in your family.
Yeah.
And because we're talking about Juneteenth, what kept coming to mind was the word legacy and
Yeah.
how important legacy is and how we as individuals represent the legacy of our families.
Period. And I think what an amazing connection. That was an unplanned connection, by the way, of us being able to discuss education and its importance to me and importance to the foundation of my career. Because that, Dr. Anita, is the pivotal and central argument that comes up over and over. It is the incessant argument when people go, I never heard of Juneteenth. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, as a teacher, an educator, a classroom teacher that's taught everything from really grades 3 through 16, because as an adjunct, you have college freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors. So grades 3 through 16, I've never taught it. So it's not that it was never learned. It wasn't in any books that I taught. And as a professor that uses, or an instructor that uses history, and then even the course that I teach in college, which is Intro to African American History. Now it's in there, right? The text that I use for that, and that it's literally a drop in the bucket when we think about the depth and the breadth of African American contributions to the academic structure, America's education system, that has been systematically and intentionally omitted.
So that begs the question, if people are not taught about Juneteenth, unless they take African American studies, when I was in high school, it was called Black History. And I remember my instructor, Mr. Ed Jenkins, Mr. Jenkins didn't pull any punches. He presented it the way it was. Unless people have had that background, is it really fair to expect them to understand and appreciate the significance of Juneteenth? And I ask that not to be controversial, but if we're constantly having these types of podcasts and a series representing Juneteenth, but some people are still scratching their heads, can they really be blamed for that?
No. And it's not white people. It's not brown people. It's not yellow people. It's not black people. It's everybody. It is everybody. That is even more of, it gives even more leverage and ammunition to the argument that learning must continue after high school.
Lifelong learners.
LLL, right? I've been saying this little acronym since I've been in this professional development space as a trainer and speaker. I have a little saying, ABL, always be learning.
Yes.
And so I am a student of life. And so I'm always, 2 nights ago, I'm flipping through the channel and I saw on the PBS local affiliate here in Atlanta, a documentary on Frederick Douglass. And I took a course on Du Bois, Douglass, and Washington. And I still turned on that documentary the other night and watched it from beginning to end. Matter of fact, don't tell anybody. I rewound it to the beginning so I could watch it from the beginning to the end, because that particular documentary showed a different side of Douglass that maybe I had read, or maybe that perhaps I forgot, that was in top of mind thinking when I took the course years ago. So are those things interesting? Are they interesting to us? Are they interesting to the status quo? In many ways, no, unless you're a history buff or a professor or an educator, and maybe even in that space, it may not necessarily be of interest to you. So that's really a great and timely mention of you making that correlation of education as we turn our attention to Juneteenth.
Tell me, since we're talking a little bit about your history, especially in academia, what are some suggestions that you have, or what have you done as a professor of African American Studies with college students on college campuses to raise their awareness about Juneteenth?
Yeah, introduce it. Lack of knowledge is generational. It's cultural. It's economic. It's geographical. All right. And that's not to be blamed. You're not to be blamed because you don't know that. You have to look at what and when and if you were ever exposed to the topic.
I think that's something important to emphasize. You're not to be blamed if you don't know. In the professional world, we hear all the time, well, I don't know what I don't know. And we're comfortable saying that, right? And in the same way, people can't be blamed for what they don't know, but the case can also be made, but there's enough information, at least in June, where you ought to know something by now.
It's an excuse, Dr. Nita. Don't get me started. It's an excuse. If you are a leader, if you lead a team, if you lead a department, if you lead an organization, if you lead a company or corporation, if you lead an institution, a school, or any body of humans, number one, it's going to be diverse. So even if, let me just say, for example, even if you lead an all-white team, if you lead an all-black team, if you're Black and you lead an all-black team, if you're white and you lead an all-white team, what helps you lead that team more effectively is understanding that even that team has various levels and dimensions of diversity.
Your point is very well taken. I recall being on a college campus leading a topic about strengths and how we can build strengths partnerships. And I had two different sets of, I had 3 white gentlemen stand and I had 3 Black females stand. And I asked people, what are the differences? What are the similarities? And they named the obvious. Well, this one's got on a blue shirt. This one's wearing glasses. This one's not. But then I asked them, well, where were you raised? I was raised in the South. Where were you raised? Southern California. Where were you raised? Midwest. And again, to the Black women, notice the obvious differences. But when we asked them other questions that we couldn't tell what the answer would be just by looking at them, you're absolutely right. However, I think that's also part of the challenge, because some people like to say, well, even 3 white guys have a different way of seeing the world. True. But if you have a white guy and different other ethnicities, how many other different ways do you have to see the world? How many other different ways do you have to come up with solutions that are going to meet a variety of clients in marketplace and increase your bottom line?
It's endless.
And one other thing that I have been in the habit of saying lately is, it's mighty funny that business people understand the value of a diverse portfolio to increase their bottom line, but they don't want to apply that same diversity in the workplace to increase their bottom line. Help me understand the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So early introduction to college students is key. You said, what do I do to introduce Juneteenth? Well, it's in the book. It's obvious. It's reading. But you have to introduce it, number one. Then you facilitate the conversation. And then you understand what their understanding. You ask what their understanding of it is. Those same principles can apply to new hires, seasoned professionals, C-suite managers, and so on and so forth. What is your understanding of it? Did you know about it? What is your reaction to it?
Right. What is your reaction to
How do you embrace it? How do you not embrace it? What are your feelings about it? And be forthright and honest. When we think about racism, when we think about bias, when we think about prejudice, when we think about bigotry, we think about all of the things that separate us, right? At the core of all of those behaviors and mindsets that I just named is ignorance. So if your company is located in a downtown urban area of skyscrapers all around you, and that's where you go every day for work, or adjacent to downtown, have you ever ridden through the neighborhoods that are surrounding those skyscrapers? Because a lot of times it's marginalized, destitute people who are living below the poverty level. And we don't do that.
And that's because
we go right to work. We go right to work. We zoom right past them. They're invisible. We don't see. Have we ever thought about that? Have we ever thought about what our company's outward facing work is in the community that it's situated in?
And so to your point, when you said ignorant, it's not to be it's not to be derogatory. It's to say ignorance and your lack of knowledge. And so to your point about acronyms, I like to talk about our ABCs, awareness building content. What are we doing to raise our awareness so that we know and we can stop saying we don't know? Because as long as your awareness continues to raise, hopefully there's some education sinking in. Community, this is a great place to pause this conversation with Tish. I'm just going to give her a new nickname, Firecracker Norman, because she's ready to go, community. She's going to light it up in our next conversation in our entire series of real conversations from the C-suite. So please come back, because next time when Tish Norman joins us again, we're going to be talking about the significance of Juneteenth, which will be happening in a couple of weeks. So please come back and join me again. If you'd like to hear this podcast or any of my previous podcasts, you know where to go. Go to the website, DrAnita.com. Remember to spell out the word doctor. And at the top, you're going to look for the link that says Keeping It Real Podcast. And please help me by getting in the flow, follow, like, and overshare any of my podcasts that help you reframe diversity conversations from difficult to different. Until next time, this is Dr. Anita reminding you to stay blessed and keep it real.